Hey, how's everyone going? This is Dr. Bagley. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get right into it. Hey, we're going to go and talk about the code of the samurai. I know it's backwards. I apologize. All right, so before we get into the book, though, before we get into the code of the samurai book, which is written by Thomas Cleary, I need to set it up first. And today we're going to talk about the profession of a person, the culture within the nature and the partner and so on. Because here's the thing, a samurai, just by itself, I know it's backwards, please forgive me. The samurai by itself, when we talk about the samurai, we're talking about who that person is in its nature, why the person is doing what they're doing. Mostly it is the community, the partner, and how they're doing it, call their profession. Okay, so let's talk about culture for a second, and then we'll bring into it. Every time, and I'll talk about me because that's all I know who to talk about. Every time I've gone out, I realize first, before I can have a successful relationship, I first have to realize who I am. As a European trained guy, not American, and please let's clarify American versus other culture. As a European raised European, hey, how's everyone doing? I was raised as a European culture. The food that I ate, the way I act, the way I was supposed to be, how I was brought up to believe. So my European nature, and then when I started dating in the younger years, like Puerto Rican and African American and different, there was a conflict of culture because of how they were doing what they were doing, how they were believing, and so on and so forth. That conflict of culture is the reason why we didn't necessarily meet or had a long-term relationship. There was a conflict. Then sometime in my life, I had to pull away from that and just literally get into myself and figure out, who am I? My nature is who am I, and my profession is who am I. Then once I found out my nature of who I am, I can then wrap my profession within my nature. Why? Because to be a samurai, for example, to be a samurai, you have to go out and do a certain job. The samurai itself is the profession, but the nature of the guy or the person going out to do the job has to have a certain ability within himself to do that profession. So you have to take account, if you want to use the code of the samurai, you have to take account of who you are in your nature so you can apply your profession and move forward. And culture is one of the things that you have to pay attention to. Now, in my new relationship, one has to understand, I understood who I was in the very beginning. So when it came to Miss Taylor versus everyone else, it wasn't that everyone else had the issue, even though we can argue that point. It was I was still looking for something, and there was a conflict with everyone else. And when it came to Miss Taylor, it just seems like who she was, how she was presenting herself, it was all about respecting the culture, which will be no different than a Puerto Rican or an Mexican or an European. Everyone's culture, everyone has a culture. It's just my nature in who I am matches the culture of the Asian culture. Then it was just now trying to find the right partner that matches my culture, my nature and my profession, so we can have a better enlightenment, if you will. Because the code of the samurai talks about who the samurai is as a nature of the guy, his profession, and his reason why, called partner. And if you understand what I just said, that my partner has to match my nature, and my nature and my partner has to match the profession, so we all can work together. And that whole substance of that is now I can apply the code to my life and outward and inward of my life. So it won't conflict my partner, me and her relationship, and it won't affect who I am, my nature, because it will conflict. How are you trying to be a CEO if your nature is just simply to be working for someone? You know? All right. So when it came to Miss Taylor, I saw her and I understood she respected centuries and centuries and centuries of culture. She respected it, and I saw that, and we just merged together because my nature of who I am, her nature of who she is, and the culture, we just blended perfectly. And so, yes. So in nature, I shouldn't say in nature, I would say in life, never ever stop looking for what you want in your life. But may I suggest, since we're talking about the code of samurai position, never be something that you are not supposed to be. It is very respectful to a guy, especially a guy, who looks at a woman and she respects her culture and she stands by her culture and she doesn't lose who she is because of her environment and trying to fit in to get along with who she is. You can't have two cultures merge when one is not who they're supposed to be. And certain cultures are not supposed to be, not because they can't work, because the culture conflicts. The exception to the rule is when the nature of the person is combining with the culture of that other person, then it will work. Okay, so if you understand what I just said, the next video we'll talk about the code of the samurai. Again, the samurai is his nature, the profession of who he is, and the culture of who he is. And if you understand those things, then we can understand or better understand how to apply the code, which is the enlightenment part of how we're supposed to live in today's time. All right? So that's all I got for right now. I just wanted to use that as part one. We'll get into part two. We'll go ahead and get into it. These code of samurai, I've been looking at this. We'll talk about a lot. All right, so this is Dr. Bagley. Thank you very much for spending your time. I'm going to go work out a little bit and start my day. Actually, I started my day early today. But if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please let me know. And until then, I will talk to you guys soon. All right, bye-bye.